Good morning. I welcome you to Binkley Church this beautiful fall Saturday morning, and it's good to have you with us. A few months ago, when our congregation put up a banner that many of you have paid attention to, three words: let Gaza live. Now, there are many banners that we put up that elicit community reaction. We weren't really expecting that one would elicit the kind of reaction that it received, however. Within just a few days of it going up, a protester started lining and leaving material around our facility, saying that it was a false narrative, that Palestine doesn't exist, and that it's just wrong of us, and that the pastor was being an infidel. That's now on my business card, by the way. Infidel. And then the banner was covered with other expressions of hatred, calling us Nazis. And then it was ripped. Many of us were in Alabama on a civil rights tour when this happened, and we were determining what to do about its state. And we had a plan, and it was going to be mended when we returned. But before we even got back here, it was mended by somebody in the community. We have no idea who in the world would come and tape it back together. If it was you, you have our sincere thanks for doing that. Let Gaza live. Why in the world would that be so controversial? Why in the world would protesting genocide, apartheid, and annihilation of a people be considered so radical? I guess you're here for a lot of different reasons on this beautiful Saturday morning. Maybe because your heart has found a open space in it, in solidarity, empathy, and sympathy for the people of Gaza and the West Bank. I'm really happy that you're here, because we'll be hearing from some folks who will do everything that you just said that you were here for: to inspire, to challenge, to provoke, and to lead us. The first person to come and speak to us today on West Bank apartheid and annexation is someone that we all know and love, with voices for justice in Palestine, Dr. Burhan.
Thank you for coming. As I said, for a Saturday morning and this great weather, I admire you guys for coming to listen to me. But I'm a Palestinian American. I was born in the West Bank, and I immigrated to the U.S. It's a long story. That's maybe for another time. And I've been here close to 40 years here in Durham. And I still have family in the West Bank. I visit often. The last time I visited was 2022. And then this year, I just came back a month ago. And I describe what I saw is like the West Bank was shut down. Media was prevented from arriving there. 800,000 settlers, heavily armed, given free hand to do what they want. every settlement is adjacent to a Palestinian village, and they have just given the freedom to do whatever they want. I urge you to not head and Google some of this. I mean, what you see in the West Bank is beyond belief. I mean, if you are not familiar with the situation and you start to look at what is happening, I am sure many of you said, this is unreal, that at this time in history, these crimes are happening now. I wrote an article after I came for Voices for Justice in Palestine. Copies are there. And, but today, I'm gonna probably focus on a lot of answering questions, but I wanted to show some videos here. And I'm focusing on two things. One of them is, and this is I meant to bring it here to you today, which is the intention of Israel and the settler movement to wipe out or ethnically cleanse the Palestinian Christians from the Holy Land. Israel now intentionally goes after villages, neighborhoods that are Christians and ethnically cleanse them. So we're going to show a video or two, I believe. This is the burning of Taibi, a Christian village, has a church in it that goes back to the 5th century. And it is historic by all means. Actually, tourists who go to the West Bank go and visit Taibi to see that church. The majority of the people who live in there are Christian Palestinians. And this is what the settlers did a few months ago. This is just showing the burning of homes and property in the church. And I think there is another video which is documenting it.
Church leaders and diplomats are visiting the predominantly Christian town of Taibe in the occupied West Bank after it was attacked by Israeli settlers. Heads of the churches called for settlers to be held accountable for their crimes. Last week, settlers started fires near the remains of a 5th century church and attacked local people. Representatives from more than 20 countries, including the European Union, were among the delegates. Al Jazeera correspondent Nida Ibrahim joins us now in the studio for more on this. Nida, tell us about Taibe and what's been happening there.
Well, what's been happening is that Israeli settlers have been attacking Palestinians there. A church, an archaeological church from the 5th century. It had ruins that people were still using in some religious ceremonies in the area. But Israeli settlers came there. They set up fire not once, but twice to the area, including the cemetery nearby, as well as bringing their cattle, their sheep, to graze in the lands where Palestinians have been growing olive trees. They've been making a living out of these olive trees for years, if not decades. And now we are talking about another threat to the Christian community. This is an all-Christian village in the occupied West Bank, the last remaining that is all Christian. We have Christians all around the occupied West Bank, but this one is all Christian community, has churches. It's a very proud community that has been under attack for years, but this time it seems that this church is also under attack, as we've seen the Israeli settlers come time and again, not just on Monday of last week, but also on Friday. This is what church leaders have been calling a systemic and targeted attack against Christians. We're talking about 50,000 of them only in the occupied West Bank, already a very small but a very proud minority. And they also consider themselves under attack, not just because they're Christians, but because they're Palestinians. But still, this is something that the church is very worried about. It has been trying for years to enhance the steadfastness of the Christian community amongst Palestine and get them to stay as long as possible. But these acts of settler attacks are not helping, as we've been seeing, not just in Taibe, but all across the occupied West Bank. We've been seeing how Israeli settlers are pushing Palestinians out of their lands, out of their homes. It's really something that has been very alarming, and that's why we've seen members of the community, priests, as well as the heads of churches of Jerusalem deliver statements to the European Union, to these representatives of 20 countries, that they should intervene to do something when it comes to holding settlers accountable. The key word here, Melina, as we always say, is impunity. And Israeli settlers feel that they have a free hand to do whatever they want in the occupied West Bank when it comes to attacking Palestinians, because they feel that they're backed by their state and they will get away with anything.
Many thanks, Nida Ibrahim.
This is an example, and I highlighted this because it's a Christian village, but countless neighborhoods, villages, and agricultural communities are suffering the same thing that you saw here. I know time is limited, and Mary, you will probably get out, but I'm gonna say sneak few words here. So during my visit, I heard and saw things that beyond imagination. I mean, the army would come to a house and they would say, we're gonna stay in this house for 2 days. We want everybody to leave and come in 2 days, but take all of your valuables, your jewelry, your cash with you. And we're gonna wait outside for 15 minutes. I heard it from a family that suffered this fate. So people, nervous, carry their cash, their jewelry, come out. They meet with the army at the door. They stripped out of those valuables. The army leaves. This is happening in this century. And friends, do not get mad at me. This is all made possible by 3 letters. USA. We financed that. $22 billion in the last 2 years were given to Israel. Given, not loans. That is in addition to 3.7 billion every year. That's in addition to money to develop weapons and things. These settlements, those settlers are financed by us. There is organizations in the USA that can donate to these settlements tax-free. It's like you donate tax-free to feed the hungry in America. They donate to the settlers to demolish Palestinian homes and burn them. Another example, my hometown is Tulkarem, and we have a refugee camp, really a part of Tulkarem. It's 100,000 people, but the refugee camp is about 15,000 people. Israel, a year ago, decided they wanted to occupy the camp. What happened? They came, occupied the camp, asked everybody to leave. They fenced the camp, completely closed military areas, and they started blowing homes and destroying them. That is Tulkarem refugee camp, Jenin refugee camp, Nur Shams refugee camps. That's the 3 that are documented, that is completely ethnically cleansed. Reports are saying 32,000, but my knowledge of Tulkarem refugee camp is close by itself to 20,000. So that number is above 50,000. A year later, those homes, majority destroyed in these refugee camps. Nobody can enter them. I met a lady who lives in our neighborhood now because she and her family were kicked from the refugee camp. And she said, Burhan, the sad thing is that we left everything in there. We left our shirts, our clothing, our jewelry, our cash in our homes. Now they are demolished. So we're going to show Human Rights Watch yesterday declared that what Israel is doing in the ethnically cleansing of Palestinian neighborhoods and refugee camps is war crimes, which is really, people like me knew this all along, but this is financed by the United States. Let's show that video of the refugee camps.
On January 21st this year, just 2 days after a ceasefire was announced in Gaza, another operation began, this time far from the headlines. Israel launched Operation Iron Wall, a large-scale military assault across the Jenin, Tulkarm and Nur Shams refugee camps in the northern West Bank. According to Human Rights Watch, Israeli soldiers, Shin Bet agents and border police forced out entire populations, emptying all 3 camps. The group says 32,000 Palestinians were displaced, many with only minutes to leave. This is the second largest Israeli operation in the West Bank since the 1967 war. Human Rights Watch says the operation amounts to war crimes and crimes against humanity and calls the forced removal ethnic cleansing. Witnesses told researchers Israeli forces stormed homes, interrogated residents and pushed every family out. 10 months on, the camps remain empty. Israel has not allowed residents to return, even though there are no active military operations in the area. Human Rights Watch says more than 850 homes and buildings destroyed or damaged across the camps. 400 of them in Jenin, 300 in Tulkarm, and 170 in Nur Shams. These camps were established in the early 1950s to house families displaced in what the Palestinians call the Nakba or catastrophe when Israel was established in 1948. For many residents, this is the second or third displacement in their lifetime. Israel says the operation was necessary to dismantle militant networks inside the camps. But the report says Israeli authorities have provided no evidence justifying the mass removal of civilians, nor the continued ban on them returning. For now, tens of thousands of Palestinians remain scattered across the West Bank, living with relatives in mosques or in temporary shelters. Their homes sealed off, their camps bulldozed, and they say their future once again erased. Ali Hashim, Al Jazeera.
I know we can talk about this for a long time, but we have Dr. Haddad coming, and I thank you for listening to me. I'm available to talk. Many people, Marcus, Mark, everybody knows my number. If you guys, anyone wanted to know more, I could come to your house. If you want to bring your neighbors, I can talk to you anywhere, anytime. Because I know my family in the West Bank are very fearful of what is next to them. Thank you. Thank you.